What is your study process?
There are many ways to study. Everybody has their own way.
We're just students and we don't have all the answers.
But here are some studying skills that will help you in test taking.
And maybe even in life.
When reading a diagram, I first take the time to look at it and to read the caption. I then read all of the words while pointing to the structures they belong to. Should there be a certain pattern, like the blood flow for example, I follow it with a pencil, or my fingers in this case, and while reading the names of all the structures that they've just passed. I do this repeatedly until I think I have it memorized, but don't memorize it just to memorize it. Make sure you have an understanding of what you're memorizing. And afterwards, if you want practice with somebody at home. I usually practice with my sister, but if you don't have an annoying 10-year-old, you just practice with anybody. Make sure you have some kind of structure or something that isn't already labeled, and then just have them point to the structures while you name them, and so on.
Okay, so when you're looking at a diagram, make sure to read the caption that's on the left side right now, and look at the diagram. You read it thoroughly and you talk to the text. Then to words that you know or you don't know, you highlight or you put a question by it, and then if you know a word that like in a different like word, you can take nutrients and then it's nutrition, which is good. So that's one example. And then like you can replace words, you can put questions in margins if you need the help, highlight important information, and then when you're doing this, make sure to be in a quiet area to review and study.
Remember, after you have read, go back and define words that you did not understand so you can get a better understanding. For example, here in the text I circled words that I did not understand, like atria and vessels. Don't feel worried at the sight of all these words, for example, these pictures and unknown words or confusing statements. Everybody learns at their own pace, and just because you don't understand it at first doesn't matter. You'll learn it, like they say, in your own pace. Nobody is born smart, but you become smart by studying.
Okay, so this is my live study session. I'll show you guys how I study. Okay, so getting this diagram, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm so gonna fail this quiz, but I had to break it down. So the first thing I did, I read the caption. The digestive system, the food travels through many organs as it is broken down into nutrients your body can use. The time needed for each organ to perform its role varies based on the type of food consumed. Okay, so it says times varied. I did not know that. Okay, so then it tells you right here, obviously. Okay, and then it tells you the parts. The mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, and then the large intestine. So the mouth I already had a clue about what it was because, duh, it's visible. And the esophagus, I had learned that last year. Then there's the stomach, and then actually, since it's already labeling the liver and the pancreas, I always thought that the liver was actually the pancreas, so I'm glad to know. Okay, so that's the liver, that's the liver, that's the liver, that's how I memorized it. I had to keep pointing at it, telling myself that that's what it's called. That's the liver, and that's the pancreas. Okay, cool, I've got that down. Okay, so the mouth tears and grinds teeth food into small pieces. Okay, cool, that's what it does. The esophagus, okay, it travels down the esophagus and into the stomach. Okay, the muscle contractions produce a churning motion. Okay, so the stomach breaks down the food with a bunch of acids that break down the food. Okay, so then it travels to the small intestine. I always actually thought that the small intestine was the large intestine, since this one seems to be a bit smaller, so kind of contradicts itself, but okay. It then travels to the large intestine and out the body. Okay, I'm going to try and do that until I see if I remember this. The mouth, the teeth chew and grind the food, making it easier to swallow. It then goes down the esophagus and into the stomach, where it is broken down by chemical digestion with acids and the muscles churning. It then goes into the small intestine and then up to the big intestine and then out your body. Okay, cool. So since I kind of already know this, I'm going to keep repeating this until I feel that I memorized it, but that I have also an understanding of what I'm reading. these parts, I will just point to them. The liver, okay, need to make sure I know that's the liver, not the pancreas. Then that's the pancreas. That's the gallbladder. Okay, the gallbladder, the gallbladder. This is the large intestine, not the small intestine. Okay, the salivary glands are close to the mouth. Saliva, that's how I'll memorize it. Saliva, salivary glands. The pharynx, we had learned about it before. The epiglottis too, prevents you from choking. And then the bolus just happens to be the glob of food. Cool. So that's how I study, and I hope that works for you.